Hello, IPHC family. The International Pentecostal Holiness Church is going to be joining together July 15th, 16th, and 17th in Mobile, Alabama. It's going to be a great time for our 30th General Conference. My name is Brad, and I have been walking us through some of the reports that we have received in preparation for General Conference. We've already talked about the first three reports, the delegate report, the nominations report, the quorum report, and then today I want to talk a little bit about Appendix A. This is at the very end of the bylaws. It was the report of the Study Commission on Structure, Governance, and Finance. Oh my gosh, please. You have to read this. It's lengthy, I get it, but this report sets the foundation for what the Bylaw Committee has been proposing for us to deal with at General Conference. And I want to talk about this report today in this episode. This is now our time as we've been coming together. This is episode 3. We've been walking through these things and just having a great time together. I hope this is helping you. It's also been helping me just to make sure I'm prepared for General Conference. Now listen, what I intend to do with these videos is not to sway you one way or the other. This is really, as a delegate, it's your decision. You get to decide what you want to vote for, what you agree with. And then when we gather together, we vote, and whatever happens. That's just how that goes. But you got to be informed. And sometimes when it's a lot of paper, it can be overwhelming. And so I want to talk about this report and a couple of things few observations, a few things that this helps us to understand the bylaws. I'll probably mention a few of the bylaw statements, but mostly want to just say some of the things that I kind of picked up out of this commission report. And this is tough to swallow, okay? There's some hard things here for us to deal with as we head into this 30th General Conference. And they're proposing structure change because they are seeing some things that we need to either accept or we can reject. And the first thing I'm getting as I observed and I read through this report is that they're concerned about two things. They're concerned about the denomination, the church, big C, is in decline, that we have more churches that are under 100 people or less, and a lot of churches that are dying and declining. And they're also seeing that we need to make the pastor a priority in our denomination. So no matter how we do structure, I think those two things kind of set the tone. Like, are we really trying to grow our denomination? And if we recognize there's decline, if we recognize that things are going in the wrong direction, what are we doing now to change things? And I think that's very important. The other thing I really thought was great is that they really want to take care of and care for the local church the local church pastor. So when I read this report and I see some of the elements from this report that have been included in bylaws, I believe that the bylaws committee has accepted this report, and they're seeing it as a document that is a diagnosis for the IPHC. Now, it's hard. Now, listen, one or two things can happen when you get a diagnosis. You can just say, well, that's just how it is, and you can just keep living the way you're living, or you can do a remedy, or you can change some things. And I think that's part of this proposal from the bylaws, is to change some things to help turn things around. And so when I look at it, I'm seeing churches decline. Now, the question is, for all of us as delegates, we have to determine what is the problem. Is the problem structure? Is it leadership? Is it culture? Is it the way we do discipleship? Are we not planning enough churches? Are we planning? Are we evangelizing well? What does our demographics look like? It could be a combination of all these things. And I think a fair question is, will changing the organizational chart help churches make more disciples? I think it's a great question. Just because we change structure, does that mean that everything's going to be perfect? Well, just like anything, church. You change structure, you got to see how it rides for a little while to see if it is going to produce the results that you want to see happen. What we do know now is what worked generations ago just doesn't seem to be working today. The next observation, again, is about pastors, right? How does this proposal help me? I'm a local pastor. Many local pastors come to General Conference. Many local church administrative council members are coming to General Conference. And, we're electing a bishop, but how does this proposal affect the local church? I think that's important. There's also a financial element that this commission sent forward to the bylaws, and the bylaws and the finance committee have put that into the proposal. They want to reduce the amount of money that goes to general headquarters, and that means more money should be in the conference's hands. But is there enough money in the conference's hands to really impact the local church? Those are great questions we have to wrestle with. It's a $1.4 million difference is what is being proposed. We'll talk about it in just a few moments. Third observation I see is like they're proposing basically more leadership alignment. And I think this is important. I think I would agree with this aspect of the report. We do have four, and we can say this because the report says it, four silos, each one doing their own thing and each one doing a great thing. Discipleship, EVUSA, they're planting churches and revitalizing churches. Discipleship is doing things for youth. They're doing things for Sunday school, grow groups. They're helping men's and women's. All that's in discipleship. EVUSA, the HGM team, church planting teams. There are great things that are happening there. And then there's world missions. We see the great results that are happening in world missions. And then you see the general superintendent's office, so the GSO, and they're doing things with clergy care and helping align how we license and ordain people. So they're all working. They're in their areas. But what they're seeing from this report is that they're not working together. They're working their areas, but they're not going all in the same direction. And so I think that's really interesting observation. And how do we get alignment? So that's part of that as well. I think all of us would say as delegates, we'd want to see a unified leadership team that can move faster and that can execute a shared vision. And that's a very big thing when it comes to governance here in our denomination. The third thing I see in this report is that the Council of Bishops kind of becomes more important. All right. They have authority. Now, we already know how our governance works. When the General Conference is in session, we have the most authority. But when we are out of session during the 4 years between General Conferences, it is the Council of Bishops that are the highest level of authority in our denomination. And so it looks like they're really putting more responsibility on the Council of Bishops to hold people accountable, to hold the 4 elected individuals, however they're elected, hold them accountable, and to make sure that we are all moving in the right direction. So accountability is important. I think that's really good. I think that's good governance. I think it's important that we look at that. When you look at that our trust in the Council of Bishops to make sure they uphold our manual, to make sure they hold people accountable, make sure that, hey, we have actually true goals and true objectives that we're trying to accomplish each and every year. I think that's important. And also there's some things in that the Council of Bishops is to make sure that our leading people, those men and women that are leading, whoever gets elected, whether it's through the General Conference or the Council of Bishop, that they are being taken care of. They're making sure their health is well. They're making sure they're going through anything difficult, that they're going to get the right support. So I like that. But the question I have with this, and this is what's hard about what was in the commission and also what's proposed in the bylaws, is these Council of Bishop members, they know each other, and sometimes they all become friends. And the hard question is, can friends hold friends accountable, right? I think it's a fair question. I think the honest answer is sometimes yes and sometimes no. But that's just part of us as delegates. We're having to trust those individuals on the Council of Bishops to uphold the manual, uphold and make sure they do what is required of them in this. So I think those are kind of the things that kind of stood out to me. A couple of things that the commission really just kind of continue to hammer on is just like trying to align people and making sure that people are amenable to people, making sure that no one can just go rogue and nobody can just do what they want to do. Because there is this sentiment, and I get it, that, hey, I got elected by the same people you got elected. And so sometimes it's hard to hold people accountable. And so in this new structure, a little bit more authority, I guess you could use that word, for the presiding bishop and the Council of Bishops to make sure that people are in alignment. We need that in our denomination. We need to have a clear vision and clear direction for where we are going. And so the question before us as we kind of walk into this, is like, okay, what does this mean for us? What does it mean for the delegates? Do we Because if we really accept and believe what has been reported to us, that number one, our churches are in decline. Number two, a lot of our pastors are over 70, and a lot of our pastors are bivocational. Those aren't bad things. I'm just saying these are things that are impacting our church. And so how do we get younger? How do we get stronger churches that can have more full-time pastors? How do we support our pastor? How do we grow our churches? How do we make more of an impact in our community? And how does this structure help us as the local church? And I think these are great questions. So read through the commission, and then we're going to talk about the bylaws and their proposals in our next episode. So thank you so much for kind of walking with me in this little scenario. Read that report. It is so profound. I think it's really kind of changed my perspective as I'm walking toward General Conference. I appreciate the men and women who worked on that report. I know that was hard work to be able to put that out there and to make that available to all of us as delegates. Listen, I hope to see you the next episode, and I can't wait to see you at General Conference, July the 15th through the 17th.